Hello, we are Zebrew, Odoo solution partner, specializing in sustainable solutions that we strive to offer, empower more and more people to achieve independence with Odoo. In today's video, we will discuss the reasons why Zync frequently leads to a notable boost in speed when developing interfaces. And by that, I primarily do not mean performance, as that is more the case in the video about the technology, where we essentially use parallel workers and queue drops to ensure that performance functions optimally. But it is more about introducing speed into projects on this topic. And there are various indicators for this. First off, deployments are avoided. It is advisable to start with a test system, but we can work in the live system and have a way in which no cron job is set up beforehand. Now, the risk remains very low, even when working in a live environment. Often, the recommendation is to use a test system when handling risky processes. But when I want to try something out, I can start right away. So if I have an idea for a new project, my typical example with cat facts, I broke it for a demo and now I have to fix it again. There's no reason not to take a quick look at how it would work. That means, in my example here, someone has the idea to turn cat facts into a new dropshipping model, or print shirts, or posters to print. And since it's a simple interface, in this case, still nothing set. So I want to get facts. And I'm already there. That means, firstly, I already have them. They are, of course, not written down anywhere yet, but now I see, it has a sublist, so I need to quickly transform it. Here we are again in the situation where you unfortunately need some code on the other interface. Then I map the content, which is now here, already a bit too much. We only need that defect is a name, and we are done already. And now nothing will happen because it has already been done. But the whole thing can also be applied to my products. Inserted. But I didn't define it as a key. We just created products. That means yes, and it's already done. That means I have an Excel list because I need to import some information, which, for example, is more nested, so it doesn't share flat information but orders with different lines, or payments, or anything, or a data interface that Odoo doesn't provide in the standard. If I know a bit about interfaces, I have a kind of proof of concept within minutes. Of course, this isn't finished yet. I need to understand that these data had to be formatted by me. I need to decide which fields to map. In reality, it will take a bit longer, but it will still be just a few minutes. It takes a few minutes to get a simple interface up and running. And often it even takes just minutes or a few hours to get complex interfaces up and running. And with that, I know, it will work. And the complexity only arises much later. For example, when two systems need to be kept 100% synced, or when processes change while importing, or something like that. Exactly. Then, the topic of optimizing resources. If I make progress so much more easily and quickly, then I don't have to give it to my seniors either. In essence, a typical limitation is not, let's say, a lack of resources, but rather that the resources I have are either expensive, or I struggle to find additional developers, or that the developers are already occupied. This means, regardless of how many people I have on duty, you often have more ideas. That can be done. And one thing that brings extreme speed is letting people handle the sync, who are not my senior developers and my expensive external partners, and directing everything related to interfaces to these individuals. This allows the same resources to have time to push forward in other areas, to push the project ahead, since it will be easier to find someone who understands a JSON data structure and very, very small Python snippets than a senior developer who can apply interfaces with all their complexity in code from start to finish. So, I will lose less time and help because it keeps repeating. If I make a mistake, then it doesn't have to be the person who built the interface look into the code, but then someone who is familiar with the sync and has nothing to do with the interface, so a completely foreign interface, can look in and see, aha, it ran into an error in the last instance. Yes, it was basically misspelled in the path. And already I'm much faster in support. Then a large part of an interface is always ready. Even simple interfaces like in our example. A user only needs to understand which Python library aids them, how Odoo functions, how to engage with it, and how to import it. Everything is just finished. Only what isn't finished, and also instantiation and monitoring and so on, it's always all done. Except for the specific part, that is, the workflow itself, if it has any peculiarities, that additionally orders must be confirmed and so on. And of course, the external system, because that's what it's all about, configuring and setting it up correctly. Yet, a considerable amount of what remains is simply always already done. Consequently, I am much quicker because I don't need to think about it whatsoever. I'm only looking at the foreign interface description and push through what it needs. Then life changes are also a speed bonus. If I don't have to pause an interface because it makes errors, then someone has to find the error in the code and then it needs deployment. I lose time in conversations beforehand in finding the error. If I can make live changes and someone made a typo, then it's saved in a second and it's just done. It's no longer an issue in comparison because no deployment is needed. And yes, as a result, I achieve, let's say, through many small and a few large factors, that typically one progresses faster than building an interface oneself. In essence, I think the usual case would be that someone, as a good developer, in the code, because there are no restrictions, might be a bit faster for an interface, but then don't deliver the quality, or have no chance to keep up with the speed. As I said, it always depends on the individual use case. But at the end of the day, in our projects, we only needed a fraction of the time. It is sometimes a bit difficult to explain, but I hope I was able to convey well enough what the advantages are here. All right, looking forward to have you join us.